In today's session, we're going to continue on the series on achieving breakthrough improvement and the implementation steps. And we're on step 15, but these first 14 steps, we're not talking years to implement, we're talking weeks. So at this point, through the implementation, the operation should be stable, and we should know where our capacity constraint resource is and where the constraint of the system is. And so now that we've got to this point, we're going to apply the 5 focusing steps. So the 5 focusing steps are going to give us the ability to increase the capacity of the current system without additional investment in capital, without hiring additional resources, and with the same software systems that you have in place. So we're not looking to put in new systems at this point. We can do it with the resources and the systems that you have. So the next set of series will be focused on each of the 5 focusing steps individually and what to do with each of the steps. But step 1 is identifying the system constraint. So now that we're stable, we should be able to know where the system constraint is. And then once we do that, what are the next steps? So the next step after identifying the system constraint is deciding how to exploit the constraint. So how can we get more out of that resource? And next session, we're going to talk about all the tools and techniques that we can use to get more out of the constraint resource and utilizing its capacity to the full potential. Then subordinate everything else to the constraint. So this is the step that companies fail to do. So if we are to elevate the constraint, before we elevate and we decide how to get more out of the constraint, how's it going to affect the rest of the system? We need to understand the effect on the rest of the system once we exploit the constraint. Next is to elevate the constraint. So once we understand from the system perspective how elevating the constraint is going to affect the rest of the system, then we take the elevation steps. And depending on how we want to maintain the stability and where we want to focus our capacity constraint resource of the system, because that's so important, how do we do that in a systematic process? Then the last step is if the constraint's broken, go back to step 1. So there's a lot of myths about this step 5. Our goal isn't to break the constraint and then find a new constraint. The goal is to stabilize, pick the strategic constraint, and then work everything around that strategic constraint area. And then lastly, don't let inertia become the constraint and don't become complacent. So these are 2 things I see happening in companies. It's like inertia and complacency. Oh, we're good enough. We don't need to do any better. There's always room for improvement. There's always room to improve the system even more. It's like, don't take your foot off the gas. Keep going and keep that process of ongoing improvement as a cultural piece of your organization. So that's our session for today. The next sessions, we're going to focus on each of these steps individually and the details behind it. Thanks for joining.